Within Studio One, we have the ability to manipulate the timing of our audio files without changing their pitch, and this is referred to as time stretching. Time stretching in Studio One is non-destructive, meaning our audio files will not be permanently altered, and we can usually get away with time stretching our audio events by plus or minus 25 BPM before they start encountering too many artifacts in the sound. So how do we go about this? Let's go ahead and create a new song. Now take note of these stretch audio files to song tempo because this is going to come into play with our time stretching. I'm going to go ahead and name this time stretching and save this to the desktop. Now I'm going to navigate to the loops tab here and then drag in a loop. We can see on this chains drums there is tempo data encoded into the file, and that's going to show up in the bottom right hand corner here of our audition panel. And notice that our song tempo is 120, so these normally would not match, but we had the stretch audio files to song tempo checked within the new song dialog. So once we drag this in, they should match up correctly. I'll go ahead and drag that onto the arrange view. Let's close out the browser. And I'm going to Shift E to expand out vertically so we can get a better look at this. And if you notice here, this loop fits perfectly within 4 bars, even though it's 80 BPM and our song tempo is 120 because we had the stretch audio files setting checked. Now, if I open up the inspector, we can see that this audio track is set to time stretch mode versus don't follow or follow. So let's actually hear the loop really quick. Okay, so we can hear that that actually doesn't sound too great because the loop is originally 80 and we're speeding it up all the way up to 120. So let's actually drop this down to about 90 and we'll see that our loop adjusts itself. Let me zoom out just a touch. Okay, we still retain that 4-bar loop. And then if I play back now, we can hear that it matches up just right with our click track here. I'll go ahead and turn that click off. So as long as your audio file has BPM data encoded in it, time stretching is that simple. Now, if I were to change this from time stretch to follow, notice our loop changes its size and is no longer matched up with our tempo. I'll turn the click track back on. And with the follow mode, our loop will retain its position at the beginning of bar 2. Say if I were to change this to 100, but it will not be stretched to match our tempo. The other mode that we have here is don't follow. It's going to disregard any tempo changes that we make. I'll go ahead and put in 140, and we can see that it retains its absolute position within our arrange view. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back to time stretch. Let's set our tempo to 90 and let's pull that back to the beginning of bar 2. So what do we do with files that don't have BPM data within its meta information? Let's come over to the Files tab here, and here we have some glitch mallets, and you can see that the BPM data is listed in the title, but when we select that file, it is not showing up here within our audition panel. So when I drag, say, this 07 file, we can see there's no BPM data. If I drag that into the arrange view, we can see that this does not line up as our drum loop did. I'm going to close out the browser, and let's actually set a 2-bar loop. I'll activate that loop, and let's play back to hear how this sounds. Okay, so that's really way off, but fixing this is a very simple thing to do. What we would need to do is come to the edge of our audio event, hold down Alt or Option on the Mac. We can see we have a little clock there. We're entering into time stretch mode. We can click, hold, and drag that out for our 2 bars. And now when I play back, we're in business. Now, one other setting to pay attention to is the time stretch algorithm here. And right now this is set to drums for that glitched mallets loop that we brought in. And that's actually not right. We would want to come to the drop down menu here and then select one of these other 2. And then in this instance, the monophonic is going to be for any solo instrument or vocal. And the sound is going to be for any type of sound. So let's go ahead and choose that one there. And I don't think that's going to make too much difference in this instance. So with this particular loop, it's not going to make that much difference, but you'll want to be sure that you're paying attention to that when you're making time stretch adjustments. Now, at any time, if you'd like to add BPM data to an audio file, you can simply right click on it, and then we can see up top here, the file tempo is not set. If you double click, you can then input a value there. This can also be done from within the inspector. So if I pull this bottom panel up, we have our event selected. We can see that the file tempo here is again not set. We can just click and input a value there. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out the inspector. And the last thing we're going to take a look at is the bend tool. And the bend tool is going to allow us to stretch or compress individual portions or parts of our audio event. And we can select the bend tool by clicking here. And then by simply clicking, we add bend markers, and those are not visible immediately by default, but we can come up to the top here and choose bend marker, show that. And now we can see the markers that we've added. And at this point, we can then hover over a marker. We can see that the mouse tool changes its icon there. And then we can click, hold, and drag to stretch or compress that audio. So as we stretch, it turns red, and the audio that is being compressed turns green. The further we go, the deeper that color is going to be, just to let you know there's a lot of stretching or compression going on. So let's go ahead and hear that back. I'm going to solo this track. Okay, so this could be useful for an instance where maybe you recorded live drums along with bass and guitar, and say the bass player may have been off a bit. Then you can come in and create some bend markers at the points where the timing is a bit off and make some minor adjustments to those, just in order to get the timing of the drums and other instruments within the song that you're working on. If we'd like to remove these bend markers, we can simply hover and then double click. And this is how we can go about time stretching our audio within Studio One.